Alrighty guys, welcome back here to another live stream, my friends. I hope you guys have all been doing well out there and having your guys' a great self to your day so far. We're going to be going over a huge update that Invest 97L could become a major hurricane. So we will definitely be going over that, and I'm sorry about the sun, by the way. I know it's kind of weird that the shadow is on my face. So don't get too concerned about that. But we will definitely be talking about this. So make sure to stay tuned for more weather updates on Hurricane Helene. But let's first go ahead and start out in the Atlantic Ocean. And as you guys can see, for Helene, we do expect it to develop as it does get closer to the Gulf of Mexico. But as of right now, it is just Invest 97L, and this is likely going to do some pretty crazy stuff as it does head closer to the Gulf of Mexico. And this is pretty much where we got the most ocean heat content, is right there just to the west of Cuba. So as soon as it moves a little bit farther to the north, that's where it will likely intensify somewhat. So we will need to be keeping an eye on it as it does move a little bit farther to the north, and then we're really watching it for a potential major hurricane by the time it does head into the central Gulf of Mexico. So we will definitely need to be watching that closely. We also do have another area we are watching for some possible development during the next 7 days. We have a wave coming off of Africa, and this will likely move towards the Caribbean and as well as the United States, because that's what some models show. We will be going over that a little bit, but like I said, we are especially concerned about Invest 97L becoming a major hurricane potentially, so we will definitely need to be keeping an eye on it pretty closely. So definitely stay tuned for more updates on Helene. And over here in the Eastern Pacific, we do have a wave that we are watching for pretty closely, one right here that is likely going to be moving towards Mexico. But we are, like I said, we are especially watching this wave right here for the potential of major hurricane status. And let's go ahead and look at these models. Okay, this is Invest 97L, and let's first go ahead and start off by taking a look at the potential track of the system. And as you guys can see, this does show it potentially becoming a pretty strong hurricane by the time it does reach the Big Bend of Florida. We're talking the potential for a category 3 hurricane in some of these areas. And that's what some of these do show. Red kind of does indicate a pretty strong hurricane, so we will need to be watching and keeping an eye out for that. And then as it continues farther, this will likely die down, but still could bring some pretty big impacts farther north, and we will definitely be going over that too as well. And then with the last track, this one's even wilder. Look how many really want to show this becoming a category 3 hurricane. We're talking almost a category 4 hurricane with some of them, especially the ones that are starting to show that pink color that you see right there that indicates 950 millibars, which indicates extremely low pressure. So because of how low the pressure is going to be, we are likely talking a major hurricane by this point. So we will definitely need to be keeping an eye on it, especially as it does head into the Gulf of Mexico, like I said. Let's now go ahead and take a look at some models. And for these models, let's first go ahead and take a look at the GFS model, and we're actually going to go back to where we were before, because this will actually give you a little bit better idea on what we can expect. We're going to go ahead and go to the Western Atlantic, and as you guys can see, as of right now, that wave is right there, like I said, and look what happens as it continues up to the north. It starts to gain its strength and starts to intensify pretty well by the time we do head into September 25th, which will be midweek. And then as it continues up to the north, look how strong that is, guys. That is pretty organized and looking pretty strong right there by the time we do head into Thursday. So this could very well become a major hurricane in just a couple of days. And as it does continue, this does show it dying down as it does head into Georgia. And as it continues up to the north, still, looks to bring those chances for some showers up there towards the Ohio Valley after it dies down. But other than that, this isn't really a huge concern any farther north than Georgia with what the GFS model is showing. But if we look at the Canadian model, look what this model is showing, okay? This one shows a much more wild setup with this system, okay? Shows it more disorganized but more widespread activity, okay? We are talking some very unorganized showers and thunderstorms with this model, and still could become a pretty strong hurricane, but it doesn't really look to become that major though, especially because this model is only showing it, that organized. So, we will continue to keep an eye on it, but, like I said, this model doesn't really show it that organized, so, we will be keeping an eye on it. But other than that, not really looking like a organized hurricane with this model. And let's also go ahead and take a look at the Icon model. That's another model we like to take a look at. This one does also show it moving towards parts of Florida, especially more towards the bend of Florida, but as you guys can see, it doesn't really do much besides impacts the Carolinas with what this model is showing. So a pretty big difference compared to what the Canadian model was showing, but this one does want to show it much more organized before it makes landfall, possibly a category 3 hurricane being shown on this model, so we will definitely need to be keeping an eye on it. And then with this model, okay, this is the last one. This one does want to show it impacting almost the same area, but look what happens as we head into the weekend, okay? It dies down, but it kind of splits apart into two halves. This half near the east coast looks to head into the Atlantic Ocean, as you can see, as we do head into next weekend, while this other half is impacting parts of the south up there towards the Ohio Valley. So this one does want to show a pretty crazy split after it does head to the north, so we definitely do need to be keeping an eye on it as it does head closer to the Ohio Valley. Let's now go ahead and take a look at how much rainfall we can expect with this system. We're going to go ahead and first take a look at the Canadian model, okay? This is the one that is showing it going more towards the Ohio Valley. So let's go ahead and take a look at it, and oh my goodness, guys. This one wants to show anywhere from 8 to even as much as 10 inches of rainfall in some areas, with even some areas seeing over a foot. So this one does want to show much more rainfall, even though it did not show it very organized, guys. And I'm not kidding about that. This one does show it very disorganized, and I can go ahead and show you guys that again, because look at that. Like I said, this is very disorganized, and compare it to the rainfall. So even though it's very disorganized, we are still likely going to be seeing a ton of flooding in these areas, and we are only looking out all the way to October 2nd, okay? So we're looking a little over 10 days out. Let's go ahead and look a little bit less out, and yeah, this still does show a ton of rainfall across those same areas as we head into September 29th. So instead of looking 10 days out, we are only looking 7 days out, and again, it still wants to show some major flooding in these areas. And let's take a zoom in, by the way. We're going to go ahead and select the Ohio Valley region so we can get a better view on how much rain to expect. And yeah, good heavens, guys, this is really massive right here. We're talking anywhere from 8 to 9 inches of rainfall across parts of Southern Illinois into southwest Indiana, southwest Kentucky, into parts of eastern Missouri, and as well as parts of the deep south, likely to see a lot of rainfall, anywhere from 9 to 10 inches of rainfall, with some areas, especially farther down south, possibly seeing a foot, okay? So I don't necessarily agree with this model, but I still do think we could see quite a bit of rainfall in these areas up to the north, so we will definitely continue to keep an eye on it. Let's now go ahead and look at the total rainfall with the GFS model, and we are still heading the same amount of days out from now all the way to September 29th. And look what this one shows, okay? We got kind of a strip rate here of anywhere from 7 to 8 inches of rainfall shown on the GFS. Some areas still look to potentially be seeing a foot of rainfall with this model, as you guys can see. So we definitely still need to be keeping an eye on these areas. And even up here towards the lower Ohio Valley, we're seeing anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rainfall across southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, southwest Indiana, western Kentucky, and even back into parts of Arkansas. Will likely see anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, and you guys can kind of see it right there when I'm selecting an area. But yeah, and I do appreciate you guys joining me. Feel free to leave any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys do have in the chat. I will definitely get to those if you guys do have anything to leave in the chat. Anyway, let's also go ahead and take a look at the European AIS model. This is a model that we did take a look at earlier, and again we are heading anywhere from now all the way to September 29th, and I can go ahead and show you guys that. So yeah, this model did want to show it going more towards the Carolinas, but look at that, even though it does show it going more towards the Carolinas, it still wants to show anywhere from 8 to even as much as 12 inches of rainfall in some areas, especially along the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina. But even areas farther to the north, look at Kentucky, Tennessee, and even parts of western Virginia, West Virginia, seeing anywhere from 3 to 4 inches of rainfall, even some areas seeing as much as 5-6 inches. So it's pretty crazy setup. And even areas in the mid and lower Ohio Valley, so places like southern Illinois, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, and northern Kentucky, could see anywhere from 3 to 4 inches of rainfall, which is still quite a bit. That is still a lot of rainfall, and that's enough to at least cause a concern for some potential flooding. So we will definitely continue to keep an eye on it, as it does look like areas up here towards the Ohio Valley could see some flooding from the system too as well. And then the last model we're going to take a look at is the ICOM model. Again, we are heading anywhere from now all the way to September 29th. And look at that, okay? We are still seeing a lot of rainfall across parts of Georgia and to Alabama, even parts of central Tennessee. Likely to see anywhere from 9 to even as much as 10 inches of rainfall in some areas, especially over here towards central southern Tennessee, from what this model wants to show. And even areas farther to the north, like I said, still likely to see that potential. Anywhere from 2 to even as much as 3 inches of rainfall is possible across southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and as well as parts of western Kentucky. Still going to see that potential, anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rainfall during these next couple of days. And again, we are only looking about 7 days out, so this is definitely going to be a pretty big problem for some of these areas. So we definitely do need to be keeping an eye on it. And then one more model we're going to take a look at is the GD not that model, but we're actually going to look at the GraphCast GFS. So this is a model we haven't took a look at yet, but we still want to take a look at it, so that way we at least have somewhat an idea on what we can expect. And this model still does want to show quite a bit of rainfall. This one actually shows more rainfall a little bit farther west than what those other models were pointing out. And again, this is anywhere from now all the way to September 29th. And look at that, parts of Alabama pointing out anywhere from 3 to 4 inches, even over there towards Arkansas, even over there towards, southern Illinois, western Kentucky, parts of southern Missouri could even see quite a bit of rainfall. So yeah, we will definitely keep an eye on it to see what the system does, but definitely a much different setup compared to what the other models were showing. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the Weather Prediction Center forecast. So this is kind of like blending all models together to get an average idea on how much rainfall we can expect, and putting all the models together, look how much rainfall. Okay, we are talking anywhere from 4 to 5 inches of rainfall across parts of the Appalachian Mountains, especially along the Carolinas, heading into Georgia and even into Alabama. Likely to see anywhere from 4 to even as much as 6 inches of rainfall, especially in these mountain areas. A little bit far down to the south showing a little bit less rainfall, but that's usually where we see the highest rainfall whenever we do see a major hurricane. So we will definitely be seeing more than 4 inches of rainfall down here, but we can definitely expect there to be quite a bit of rainfall overall for those areas. And then up here towards parts of the lower Ohio Valley, we could see anywhere from 3 to even as much as 4 inches of rainfall across parts of southern Illinois, southwestern Indiana, back into western Kentucky, southeast Missouri, into northeast Arkansas, pretty big portion there of central and western Tennessee, and even parts of northern Alabama. Really going to be seeing that potential for anywhere from 3 to even as much as 4 inches of rainfall in some areas. So like I said, we will definitely be keeping an eye on it for you, with even some isolated totals, especially near the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee, could even see over 5 inches of rainfall. But we will definitely continue to keep an eye on it. Let's now go ahead and look at the National Hurricane Center now. We did take a look at this earlier in this live stream, but we're taking a look at it again just to give you a little bit more idea on what we can expect. So as you guys can see, we pretty much got a disorganized areas of showers and thunderstorms located over parts of northwest of the Caribbean Sea, and over portions of Central America are associated with a broad area of low pressure. Environmental conditions appear favorable for development of the system, and a tropical depression or tropical storm is likely to form during the next couple of days, while moving northwest across the northwestern Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico. Regardless of the development, this disorganized disturbance is expected to produce heavy rainfall over parts of Central America during the next several days. In Tercet, in the Northwest Caribbean, and as well as over Pensacola, will likely, need to monitor for some flash flooding. So like I said, we will definitely be keeping an eye on it for you, but so we do need to still be keeping an eye on that area, as like I said, it will very well, develop into a major hurricane as it does head farther to the north, while this area is another area we gotta be watching for. So let's actually go ahead and take a look at what we can expect with that system over there in parts of the central Atlantic Ocean, and I can go back and show you guys. So it will likely come off of Africa, and we are kind of watching the central Atlantic for maybe some development over the next 7 days. And let's go ahead and take a look at what those models show. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go the Atlantic wide, so that way we can see. So we pretty much got another wave coming off of Africa, and yeah, look at that. It shows that part right there becoming a hurricane, and then after that it continues. But look at that. Okay, we are seeing that wave that just came off of Africa moving towards the Caribbean Ocean. Okay, that's some bad news for those areas, and we are looking really far out, by the way. We are already looking into the beginning of October, so keep in mind that this thing is going to remain uncertain, but we will keep an eye on it to see if this does anything too crazy. Worst case is that this may impact both the Caribbean and as well as the United States, but as of right now, like I said, this does remain uncertain, but we will be keeping an eye on it, because as of right now, it is certainly a possibility. And like I said, feel free to leave any questions, comments, or concerns in the chat during the stream, whether you guys have any questions about if Helene will develop, or if you guys have any questions about how strong the hurricane will be. Feel free to leave any of that in the chat down below, and I will absolutely answer them. But you know, it's okay if you guys don't have anything to say, but like I said, if you do, feel free to leave that down below. Let's go ahead and go back at Invest 97L. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at that again, just to give you a good idea on how strong this could be. And yeah, this does want to show a major hurricane by the time we do head into the next few days. Okay, a category 3 hurricane is what 2 of the models are already starting to show, and so we do need to be keeping an eye on it, as this system could very well develop into a major hurricane, like I said, and that's why this is considered an emergency. Okay, because this could very well develop to a category 3. Some of them might even start showing category 4 pretty soon, because that's what some of the models did want to show. So we will definitely need to be keeping an eye on it, as you know, it does look to be a pretty big concern. And, you know, we also need to be watching, you know, closely for some of these other areas. And yeah, I mean, we will definitely also need to, you know, be keeping an eye out for some thunderstorms around the United States today also. We're actually going to go ahead and take a look at the Storm Prediction Center, and this is just to let you guys know that we may see some severe weather these next couple of days. I know this isn't really what we are talking about in the live stream, but we are still going to be taking a look at this, like I said, just so that way you guys have a good idea on what's going to happen. But as you guys can see, we do have a marginal risk extending from Midland, Texas, all the way up towards western Kentucky, as a wind and as a hail threat will be the main concerns for today. No tornado threat, thankfully, so none of these areas really need to worry about that too much, but wind and as well as hail will be the main concerns for those areas. So, you know, continue to be on high alert as we do head into the overnight hours. And then for day 2, which will be for tomorrow, we do have another marginal risk for severe weather to worry about. And for tomorrow, no tornado threat once again, but wind and as well as large hail looks to be the main concern. So again, we will definitely be keeping an eye on it, as we could very well experience, you know, some pretty big storms tomorrow. Worst case is that we might see a severe storm with large hail and damaging winds. This is mainly going to be more of a minor hail and as well as a wind threat. So, you know, we will be keeping an eye on it, but like I said, doesn't really look to be a huge concern tomorrow, especially because chances are pretty low. But we will definitely be keeping an eye on tomorrow also. And like I said, you guys can leave anything in the chat, and it doesn't even have to be about Helene. You guys can even leave questions about if your area will see severe weather, or you guys can leave your zip code or location in the chat, and I will do a weather forecast for your area. But let's go ahead and take a look at the radar again. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hurricane tracks. And, you know, I know this isn't the National Hurricane Center, but it does show where we do expect development also. And, you know, we can even go ahead and take a look at satellite imagery. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that satellite imagery. And yeah, pretty disorganized, but sure will likely develop into a major hurricane, like I said. And if you're wondering where that is located pretty much right here, okay, right near parts of Central America. So we will need to be keeping an eye on it, like I said, and, you know, this will likely continue to head towards the north, and, you know, probably will even develop into a major hurricane as it does head towards, you know, in between Cuba and as well as Mexico is about where we're expecting it to go. And then, you know, there's some questions where it goes after that, but it looks to, you know, potentially be making landfall somewhere in this area. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But let's go ahead and look at the models one more time. We're going to go ahead and go to the forecast models. And as you guys can see, for the forecast models, we do expect there to, like I said, we are still concerned about that major hurricane threat for parts of the mid-band of Florida. And like I said, we don't have a lot of agreement on where this will exactly go, but we are still keeping an eye on it. And we can even look at those ocean temperatures, which sometimes also gives us a good idea. So we're going to go ahead and choose the Western Atlantic. We're going to select that, and oh my goodness, guys, look at that. We are seeing really, really warm waters across those areas. We are seeing 31 degrees Fahrenheit in some areas, which indicates almost 80, 90 degrees Fahrenheit pretty much. 90 degrees Fahrenheit is extremely warm. We are talking a lot of hurricane fuel. So that is definitely not good news. Rapid intensification could definitely be an issue, and we can actually look at those water temperatures on here, and yeah, we're talking an degree above average. And if you're wondering what an degree Celsius above average is, that is 33 degrees Fahrenheit above average. So we are seeing well above average water temperatures in the Caribbean Ocean. So that is definitely pretty crazy, guys. That is definitely pretty crazy right there. Same with the Gulf of Mexico. Look at that. Those water temperatures are climbing up like a rocket. We are talking anywhere from a degree above average. We're talking a degree Celsius above average for parts of the Gulf of Mexico. So this is definitely going to be something to keep an eye on, as the system will likely move into the Gulf of Mexico, and so rapid intensification could definitely be a huge concern. Let's see here. Robert Johnson says 14510. Okay, let's go ahead and check that out. 14510. Let's go ahead and see where that is. So let's see, Mount Morris, New York. So we're going to go ahead and look at Mount Morris, New York. So for Mount Morris, New York, we're going to go back to the map so that way we can find it. So Mount Morris, New York is pretty much right there. So we're going to go to the radar so we can see where that is exactly. So for Mount Morris, we can definitely expect there to be maybe some isolated showers and thunderstorms. And yeah, we actually got a few starting to pop up just out to your west, my friend. And if we look at if you are under any risks for severe weather, so we're gonna go ahead and turn on each of them. And yeah, I mean, you might be at risk for a few showers and thunderstorms here or there, but it definitely doesn't really look to be a huge concern though. But we will definitely be keeping an eye on it for you, my friend. But I'm glad you did ask me that. I do appreciate you guys leaving that down below. But you are looking fine, my friend. You are looking fine. And like I said, anyone else who wants to know their forecast, you guys can definitely leave that down below in the YouTube chat if you guys would like. But thank you very much for leaving that down below, Robert Jansen. I very well appreciate it. But let's, also go ahead and take a look at just a few more things. We're going to go ahead and go to the models again. And I do appreciate you guys, joining again. And like I said, you guys can leave anything in the chat if you guys would like to. And like I said, this system could very well bring a lot of rainfall to some of these areas. And so we are definitely keeping an eye on it. But, I mean, we definitely do need to be watching. And again, this still does want to show anywhere from 8 to 9 inches of rainfall across southern Illinois, southwest Indiana, southeast Missouri, and western Kentucky. This is the model, that is being the most bullish, but, we definitely will need to be keeping an eye on it as, conditions do look pretty concerning for parts of the Ohio Valley. And back over here towards New York, like I said, my friend, You know, like I said, few showers and thunderstorms still ongoing in some parts, so we are still keeping an eye on it to see if some of these areas may get impacted. But as of right now, you know, we are keeping an eye on it, and so, you know, we will certainly be watching closely. I'm just making sure I know where that is. Oh, okay, yeah. I finally see it, my friend. So yeah, I was right. You actually do have a storm up there to your north, and yeah, I already found it now. I'm so glad that I found that location, by the way. But yeah, you know, we are still keeping an eye on parts of New York for these pop-up showers and thunderstorms, like I said, because we are under a risk for, you know, a couple showers and thunderstorms across parts of New York. But like I said, it doesn't really look to be a huge concern, though, especially because we don't have any marginal risk up there. It's mainly going to be towards parts of the lower Ohio Valley and, you know, even as far west as Texas, where we start to see, you know, those greatest chances for showers and thunderstorms. And like I said, guys, feel free to leave any, you know, zip codes in the chat if you guys would like me to give you guys a weather forecast, or even leave any questions, comments, or concerns in the chat too as well. Feel free to leave any of that down in the chat, and that will be great. Let's also go ahead and take a look at what we are looking at, those water temperatures in the eastern Pacific, and this is might be one of the reasons why we are starting to see way less wind shear in the Atlantic Ocean, and this also might be why conditions are getting more favorable. But this line of blue that you see heading from the eastern Pacific all the way into the central Pacific, that we are talking below average water temperatures across some of those areas, which is pretty crazy, by the way. And, you know, we are definitely more in the way of a La Nina now, and, you know, we can very well take a look at that if we go to this. And yeah, those temperatures have very well climbed quite a bit down. Okay, we're talking 33 degrees Fahrenheit below average, or 1 degree Celsius below average, which is pretty crazy, guys. That's almost a moderate La Nina right there. And, you know, this is something we do expect for the winter. If you guys want to, you know, see my official preliminary winter forecast, you guys can stay tuned for that, as I do expect that to be sometime in early to mid-October, while my official winter forecast will pretty much be sometime during the month of November. So you guys can stay tuned for both of those by liking and as well as subscribing down below, or, you know, even asking any questions, like I said, which would also be great. Back to the radar again. Like I said, we are still watching this disturbance down here for that potential of development. And like I said, very well could head towards parts of the Panama City Beach region. And, you know, we do expect this to strengthen quite a bit. We're going to go ahead and select that, by the way. And yeah, like I said, models do want to show this going up all the way towards Category 3 hurricane strength, which is a major hurricane, guys. A major hurricane is definitely on the possible side of things, as some of these models do want to point out some rapid intensification going all the way up to low in Category 3 and then starting to die down. But more of these models will likely start to show it, you know, even in the middle or even the upper Category 3. So we will definitely need to be keeping an eye on it, my friends. This is definitely not good news. Well, and I'm gonna go ahead and change my title, by the way. And if you guys are wondering why I'm changing my title, it's because, you know, we just went live and we already talked a lot about it. But, you know, we will still, you know, continue to be live. And like I said, if you guys got any questions, comments, or concerns in the chat, feel free to leave any of that down below. Let's see here. Robert Johnson says, reports are situation starting then, Invest 97L is going to be dumping heavy rainfall east of the eye. Any thoughts on that? Yes, my friend. So yeah, you are right that, there is a lot of heavy rainfall going east of the eye, and we can actually look at satellite imagery to look at that. So that low is pretty much right there, and yeah, that very heavy rainfall is definitely farther to the east of the eye, so you definitely are right about that, my friend. But look at all that ongoing across parts of Central America. We're talking some pretty huge concerns for some flooding and heavy rainfall across parts there of Central America, so we definitely do need to be keeping an eye on it, as flooding and even some major flash flooding could be possible, especially if you continue to see those showers and thunderstorms across those areas. Let's see here. Amber says, looking forward to your winter forecast. Grateful for these hurricane updates too. My husband is a truck driver who drives up and down the East Coast frequently. Yeah, I'm glad that you are ready to see my winter forecast, my friend. That was very nice of you to let me know about that. And yeah, I hope your husband does stay safe while he's going up and down the East Coast. As this hurricane could very well impact parts of that. Like I said, this does look to be making landfall right next to the Big Bend of Florida, and either this goes up the East Coast or this goes toward the Ohio Valley. Who knows exactly where this is going to go, but like I said, we do expect this to make landfall right there, and some of the malls show it going more towards the Ohio Valley, and some of the malls just show it going towards the Carolinas. But like I said, I hope he does stay safe, my friend, and thanks for leaving that down below, by the way. We're, also going to go ahead and go back to the National Hurricane Center. Here's something we kind of do need to talk about too as well, especially if any of you guys do live down here in Mexico. And as you guys can see, we actually are keeping an eye on this disturbance down here in Mexico, which as of right now is a tropical depression, but likely going to strengthen back up to a tropical storm. So we definitely do need to be keeping an eye on this system to impact parts of Central America. So not only is that disturbance, just to the east of Central America, bringing a lot of heavy rainfall to those areas, but also just to the west of Central America, same thing is happening, as we do have a tropical storm likely to bring some pretty good impacts. Let's see here. God bless, Amber. These storms are bad news for everyone. The La Nina means nothing good for anything this winter. Yeah. It's not, good news for this winter either. It is good news if you love snowfall, but it's definitely not good news that, we are gonna stay really dry down here towards the south. And, that's definitely a huge concern for those, areas farther down to the south. So yeah, that's definitely pretty bad news this winter, my friend. And I do hope this jet stream will dip down farther down south at times, but I mean, man, this really does look to be a pretty dry winter for those areas. So, you guys down here probably won't really need to be wearing a jacket as much. You guys still might have to at times, but you guys are going to be warmer than normal this winter, unfortunately, with drier than normal conditions also likely. So, we will be keeping an eye on it, but like I said, we do look to be mostly dry and as well as warmer than normal across the entirety of the southern United States, while the Northwest and as well as Ohio Valley will be at risk for below average temperatures, along with some pretty good snowstorms. And like I said, we will be talking about that when we do my next winter forecast. And like I said, you guys can definitely like and subscribe and stay tuned for it, of course. So I hope you guys are getting ready for that. Let's also go ahead and take a look at what we can expect for development as we do head into October. This is something we forgot to take a look at, by the way, but as you guys can see, we do expect there to be some pretty good development across parts of the central Gulf of Mexico and even as far down south as the Caribbean Ocean. And we will need to be keeping an eye on those areas for more possible hurricane development, as we do have greater than a 60% chance of a cyclone forming pretty much in that brown area that you see right there. We could see a similar situation over here towards, parts of the main development region, which is pretty much this area in between the Caribbean and as well as the African coast. But, even as we head into, a little bit later of October, we're talking anywhere from October 2nd all the way to October 8th, we still do have that chance for some potential development across the Eastern Pacific and even parts of the center, Caribbean and even parts of the Gulf of Mexico and even down here towards, parts of the main development region still looks to be at risk for some pretty big time storms. So, we will definitely need to be keeping an eye on it, like I said. But, as of right now, we are mainly just focusing on this area, like I said. So, we definitely do need to be keeping an eye on it. And then, we let's also go ahead and, go back to where we were before on the analyze tool. So that way we can go ahead and take a look at that system again. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. And yeah, like I said, that low is pretty much located right here, right next to Central America. And like I said, Robert Johnson, you are right about how that rain is well east of the low right here. So, we are still keeping an eye on it. And, unfortunately, up there, towards Jamaica and even up there towards Cuba, we got much more heat surface content in those areas, which means rapid intensification could, start pretty soon. So that's another concern with this system, is that rapid intensification could be ongoing sooner than later due to really high amounts of heat content across parts of the Caribbean and as well as the Gulf of Mexico. So, this is going to be something that we do need to keep an eye on. And if you're wondering about that, I already did show you guys those water temperatures, but we can show you guys those again. And like I said, really warm temperatures across parts of the Caribbean and as well as the Gulf of Mexico, as you guys can see. And that's exactly why this could rapidly intensify. And this is, pretty much your sea surface temperatures. So, this is definitely going to be something to keep an eye on, like I said. And worst case is that this might even turn into a Category 4 hurricane. Like I said, we will just have to see how this plays out. But, this is just going to be something really crazy and wild, guys. I hope you guys are prepared for this. If you guys do live along the Gulf Coast or even parts of the East Coast, you guys should be preparing for this. And, this could even bring some other impacts than just that. Even impacts towards the Ohio Valley may also be possible. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the excessive rainfall outlook. And the reason why we're going to show you guys this is because we do have a risk for flash flooding across parts of Florida, getting back there into Georgia, even parts of Alabama, likely to see flash flooding by the time we head into your Thursday. And, this is pretty much where they're expecting the landfall to be, so we can pretty much expect the system to go right over the Tallahassee area, and we could definitely get upgraded to a moderate risk for flash flooding, especially as we do get closer. They don't have a moderate risk right now because some of the models, don't really show it impacting this area, and we also don't really have extremely good agreement on how much rainfall we could see. But as we do head closer, we could very well be talking about some pretty big impacts across parts of the south and southeast as well. And then, back over here to the radar again, we're going to go ahead and, take a look at this once again. Like I said, still watching, for some showers and thunderstorms to possibly bubble up pretty soon. We could even go ahead and look for a few more. And yeah, we even got some bubbling up down here, across western Kentucky. Just pointing that out because we do have a risk for severe weather through the overnight hours, like I said earlier in this live stream. And same goes for parts of Oklahoma Oklahoma. Got some showers and thunderstorms also trying to bubble up as well. But, you know, we will definitely need to be keeping an eye on it, my friends. Like I said, this is, you know, definitely going to be something that we do need to be keeping an eye on, as, you know, severe weather and even a little bit of flooding could definitely be possible across parts of Oklahoma, heading there into Arkansas, and even up there towards the Ohio Valley as we do head into tomorrow. So like I said, we will definitely need to be keeping an eye on it. And then let's also go ahead and take a look at just a few more model guidance just to get a little bit, you know, good of an idea on what we can expect once again. So we're gonna go ahead and, you know, take a look at some of these shorter range models like the NAM model. NAM model does want to point out some rainfall across these areas, and you know, this is pretty much with that isolated thunderstorm development that we're expecting. This isn't necessarily with Helene, but more with, you know, isolated thunderstorm development possible. And yeah, we will definitely need to be watching these areas for rain and flooding from some of these storm systems, like I said. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because we do have a risk for severe weather today and tomorrow, and so I just want to try to let you guys know about it so that way you guys can stay safe. And then another model we can also take a look at is this model too as well. This is another Canadian model, by the way. And if we look, you know, all the way to September 29th with this model does want to show anywhere from 4 to 5 inches of rainfall across parts of southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, southwest Indiana, and western Kentucky as we head into September 29th. And some of the other models were also showing that too as well. And, you know, this has definitely given us a good idea that we might also see a pretty good, you know, dousing of rainfall with this system, especially as it does get closer, you know, towards the Ohio Valley. So, you know, we definitely do need to be keeping an eye on it closely, as the system could very well strengthen and, you know, do some crazy stuff. So we will definitely need to be keeping an eye on it. We did talk about a lot in this live stream. I'll just be live for a little bit longer. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the chat right now before we do end this live stream. Like I said, we've been live for a while and we already talked about most of what we wanted to talk about. So like I said, feel free to leave any questions, comments, or concerns, or even zip codes in the chat before I end this live stream, and we, you know, will definitely continue to keep you guys updated, you know, throughout this week after this live stream ends. But let's, you know, go back to the radar again. We're just gonna be wait to see if any of you guys want to leave any questions in the chat, because this will be the best time to leave any down below that you guys have. But if not, we can probably go ahead and end our live stream in just a few minutes. But like I said, feel free to leave anything in the chat. Let's see here. Any outlook on rain for southwest drought areas? Yes. So, you know, we do expect there to maybe be a little bit of rainfall for parts of the southwest. We're actually going to go ahead and select this radar right here. And yeah, we actually do have a little bit of, you know, sprinkling ongoing in some of these areas, but they're extremely light though, okay? So we aren't really talking much across the southwest. We are really just staying on the drier side of things, unfortunately. The areas that are really seeing that rainfall is mainly parts, you know, of Texas and New Mexico, which are the only areas in the southwest really seeing that rainfall. So, you know, we may see a little bit of sprinkles in some areas, but I mean, it's really dry though, unfortunately, and it doesn't really look like we're gonna see any significant rainfall these next few days. So we'll keep an eye on it, but like I said, not really seeing much in the way of any rainfall for those areas, besides maybe just a few showers or sprinkles here or there. But I think we're gonna go ahead and end our live stream about now. Like I said, we've been talking about a lot of things throughout this live stream, and we mostly talked about everything that we wanted to. And I do appreciate Robert Johnson for joining my live stream and also leaving all kinds of questions in the chat. I definitely will give you a big shout out for joining that. I really do appreciate you, Robert Johnson. Same goes for Amber. Thank you for leaving that statement in the chat. I do appreciate you as well, and of course anyone else who left any question in the chat. Thanks for joining my live stream, and we will see you tomorrow, as I will post another weather update on my channel, as we will continue to keep you guys updated on this